Today we're going to be exploring the natural cycle of human experience, or what we might call allowing and clearing. As we all remember, we spent a fair amount of time, a lot of time on Wednesday talking about loss, and in particular the loss of our good friend Jonah, which happened so tragically. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, there was a picture in the paper this morning of the vigil that was held for her by the Richmond Area Bicycling Association. And it looked to me as if there were at least 100, if not 150 bicycle riders there participating in the vigil. And of course, when we experience a great loss, it prompts grief. And we talked about grief in some depth on Wednesday and did some practices around it and emphasized how important it is when we have a really difficult emotion arising, especially one like grief, that we fully experience it, that we allow it to be present, that we don't be in a place of trying to get away from it or get it under control. And when we're experiencing a powerful emotion like that, it's a reminder that life is hard. It's just how it is. Life is hard. And in this case, with the loss of Jonah, it reminds us that life is impermanent and it's not perfect. Bad things happen to good people, just the way things are. And so let's take a moment now and reflect just a little bit on the experience of dealing with a difficult emotion such as grief, and just allow it to be present. Be fully aware that this difficult emotion is here. We might even notice the aliveness and vividness of such an emotion, how present it is. Its immediacy. And if the emotion is something like grief, its poignancy. And allowing it to touch our hearts. And then also to be on the alert for our human tendency to make this difficult experience even harder. Perhaps we're falling into a place of wanting things to be other than they are, of wanting this loss not to have happened, or to be aversive about it, to deny it, resist it. It wouldn't be surprising if those thoughts or feelings come up and we allow them. We notice where they show up as sensations in our bodies, and we observe the sensations. This tendency for wanting an aversion to show up arises out of the dynamic between, on the one hand, the 3 Ps, that life is impermanent, not perfect, and we tend to take it personally. And each of our 4 unique conditions of being human that are beyond our control, when the 3 P's and the 4 C's start interacting, they can lead to wanting and aversion, even delusion and ignorance. And yet, as mindfulness practitioners, we can be aware when this is happening. Just be an observer of it. When we become observers of this experience, of whatever it is that's happening, when we're staying with the grief or we're noticing how the wanting and aversion sneak in, what we can do is allow. And allowing, in many ways, is the opposite of controlling. We're not trying to control this experience. We're allowing it. And one of the reasons that we can have confidence in allowing this experience and not be afraid that it will tip us over into complete vulnerability, into complete chaos, causing us to lose all of our sense of balance and equilibrium and equanimity, is that these difficult experiences have a natural cycle to them. They follow the flow of life. And so, as is often said in jest, what are the 4 words that are guaranteed to make a happy person sad and a sad person happy? The 4 words are, "This too shall pass." Impermanence. Causes and conditions keep changing, keep shifting. And because our bodies and brains tend toward stability and equilibrium, then when we experience something difficult, it arises, it's present, and it passes. Often we're triggered, when we're triggered, it's the sympathetic nervous system that kicks into gear, that makes us tense, feels anxious and stressed out. We can feel the tension in our bodies. Maybe our breathing gets a little more shallow, our heart rates escalate. That's the sympathetic nervous system responding to a threat and taking care of us. And fortunately, we all have a parasympathetic nervous system whose job it is to calm down all of these symptoms that arise when we're threatened. And we can invoke the parasympathetic nervous system with deep breaths. And that helps us come back into equilibrium, helps us allow this natural cycle to occur. So there's triggering, escalation, and then and then settling back in. There's been a fair amount of research that has shown that when we're triggered in any given moment, and the sympathetic nervous system kicks into gear and we have all these symptoms, that this cycle lasts anywhere from perhaps 1 minute to generally not more than 3 minutes. And perhaps you're asking yourself, why am I still angry 2 days later? It's because we keep that cognitive process going, repeating whatever it was that was said or happened. And we keep re-triggering ourselves. We start the cycle again and again and again and again. So if we allow these things to be there and become observers of this cycle, that lets it pass through. And now we're in a place where we have some space and can make choices. I want to emphasize here, though, that with something like the kind of loss that we have each experienced in our lives, the loss of a person or a pet, that grief is very powerful. And again, external events or thoughts can keep triggering that grief. And so it keeps rising up. And when we allow it, though, it follows that cycle of 1 to 3 minutes, that immediate emotion. We're not trying to get rid of it. We're allowing it to be present. We know this experience, that this is grief, this is sadness, this is difficult, this is anger. And so we're not dismissing it. We're not getting rid of it. We're willing to be with it and allow the cycle to play out so that we find the space and can make choices. So let's do a practice around this. Settling in to the surface you're sitting on. Finding a posture that suits your body in this moment. Perhaps taking a couple of deep breaths. Followed by long, slow out breaths. Letting go of whatever extra tension or energy is present. Experiencing the breathing throughout our bodies. Just imagining on the in-breath, filling the whole body. Feeling the breath in every part of the body. And then letting go. Making this a full body experience. And now recalling the experience of loss. Not somebody really close to you, but somebody you knew well, or perhaps a pet that you had for a number of years. The loss made a difference for you, but was not overwhelming. And bringing up some memories of this person or being. Memories of appreciating this being. Allowing those memories to be fully present. and noticing how this experience is showing up in your body. Doing a gentle scan of your body and noticing where the sensations are that align with these memories of loss. And simultaneously experiencing these sensations and feelings and observing them. We have this ability to be aware of what we're aware of. And in these moments, noticing if any wanting or aversion is creeping in. It wouldn't be surprising. Is there some aversion to even having these memories? Is there some wanting to have this being back in our lives? Allowing and observing for whatever is there. Noticing how this entire experience in all aspects is showing up in your body. Finding the specific sensations. And focusing on the sensation. Is the sensation becoming more intense or less intense? Is it shifting from one part of your body to another? Allowing for the presence of this sensation. Accepting its presence. And as you're staying with this experience, allowing it, focusing on the sensations, noticing if there's any sense of a cycle here of arising and presence and fading away. Becoming an observer of the cycle itself. Experiencing the reality of the cycle. And it's okay if you're not noticing a cycle. Perhaps that might come at a later time. And if there's no sense of cycle or fading away, simply staying with the experience. And now offering yourself a few words of kindness for your willingness to step into this challenging experience of recalling loss, of being in the memories of loss.